4,000 applicants,
Yeah.
and only 7 hires. Just let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, that is, I mean, that's just a wild number.
Right. You are looking at a 0.17% acceptance rate.
It's basically non-existent.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into like the most elite Ivy League universities on earth is practically child's play compared to this. But EON AI Ventures, they aren't recruiting for a university.
No, definitely not.
They're hunting for, 20-somethings to drop onto active offshore oil rigs and into heavy manufacturing plants. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to decode this fascinating press release from July 2026 announcing something called the Work Intelligence Fellowship.
And for you, the listener who, wants a shortcut to understanding where human AI collaboration is actually going without drowning in white papers, this is just a goldmine.
Totally. We're going to figure out what EON means by human 2.0 talent, why they're sending these like raw recruits into life or death industries, and how they mathematically plan to basically bottle human intuition and turn it into a digital asset.
Which fundamentally flips the script on how we view artificial intelligence. I mean, we spend so much time talking about generating text or images, but this document is about capturing the most elusive data set in existence.
Right.
The gut instinct of seasoned human professionals.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because we really have to start with the people who are actually walking through this insanely narrow door.
Yeah, the 0.17%.
Right, and the press release makes it very clear that this low acceptance rate isn't, it's not a flaw in their recruitment pipeline. They aren't trying to widen the funnel.
No, they are treating that bottleneck as the primary feature of the program.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Dan Lajerskar, the founder and chairman, he provides a quote that kind of sets the entire tone for this. He states, "We are not recruiting for a job. We are recruiting into a mission with a rare team attached."
A mission with a rare team attached.
Huh?
I like that.
It's very specific, right? He explicitly notes they are filtering out anyone looking for, comfort or a standard corporate ladder. They only want people who move for meaning, pace, and the chance to build something that has never existed.
The mechanics of how they actually find these individuals are fascinating, too. Like, there are 2 distinct tracks here.
Right.
The first is through university partnerships, which involves, supervised work with exceptional students. That feels somewhat traditional, I guess.
Yeah, standard pipeline stuff.
But the second track is a global direct intake.
Yeah.
Anyone, anywhere can try to get in. But you don't just, upload a polished PDF resume and cross your fingers for a Zoom interview.
Definitely not.
The document says candidates have to prove themselves through demanding real-world challenges. It feels almost like a digital Willy Wonka golden ticket crossed with, I don't know, an elite military selection course.
No, that's a good way to put it.
You are in the trenches, proving your analytical worth from the very first click.
And your military selection analogy is actually highly instructive when we look at the psychological profile EON is targeting here.
How so?
Well, standard corporate recruitment is designed to minimize risk, right? You want predictability, a clear hierarchy, a safety net. EON just strips all of that away on purpose.
Wow.
Yeah, by building a gauntlet instead of, a standard interview panel, they are hunting for the unusually curious and driven.
Unusually curious.
Exactly. They want a disruptor who looks at a chaotic, unstructured problem and doesn't freeze, but leans in. They're filtering for a nervous system that treats ambiguity as an opportunity rather than a threat.
But the ambiguity we're talking about isn't just, fixing lines of code in a comfortable office in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
We know who they are recruiting, but look at where they're deploying them.
Right, the environments.
Yeah, the text list, oil and gas, energy, heavy manufacturing, and utilities. I mean, these are the highest stakes arenas on the planet.
Environments where, and the press release literally states this, a misstep costs lives and value.
Wait, I have to push back hard on this. Isn't it genuinely terrifying to put early career, highly curious talent into environments where literal lives are on the line?
It sounds risky, sure.
Like a 22-year-old hotshot trying to disrupt a workflow because they're unusually curious sounds like a recipe for a pipeline explosion to me.
I get that.
An AI chatbot doesn't physically grab you if you turn the wrong high-pressure valve, right? So how does a digital tool prevent a physical disaster?
What's fascinating here is how the program is actually structured to prevent exactly that scenario.
Okay.
You're envisioning like a young software engineer walking onto a refinery floor and just arbitrarily pulling levers.
Yeah, basically.
But that isn't what's happening. The text outlines a dual safety net. Yes, they are armed with the best AI in the world, But the physical and procedural safety comes from being coached by experienced operators.
Oh, okay. So they aren't just rogue agents running around.
Far from it. Think of it as an ultra-modern apprenticeship. EON pairs the deep domain expertise of a 30-year veteran operator with the unencumbered perspective of the fellow.
So they're working together.
Exactly. The fellow is shadowing. They are observing the veteran, using their AI tools to map the workflow and proposing efficiencies, but in a digital sandbox.
A sandbox, got it.
Right. The veteran operator acts as the physical boundary. They ensure the refinery stays safe, while the fellow asks if the underlying logic of the workflow can be rewritten.
Okay, that dynamic makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
The veteran knows why a rigid safety rule exists, and the fellow is asking how new technology can achieve that same safety, but maybe faster or better.
Precisely.
So assuming everyone is safe and the refinery is intact, how are these fellows actually extracting this value? Because the document outlines their daily work as a single motion divided into 2 tracks.
Yeah, it is a highly deliberate workflow mapped to the complexities of enterprise deployment. We can basically look at this as the front end and the back end of the operation.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. The front end is the discovery track.
Right.
The text describes this as a research-led, consultative approach. So these fellows have to penetrate these massive, complex organizations, find the right operators, and run discovery sessions.
It's a lot of groundwork.
Yeah, they aren't just reading standard operating procedure manuals. They're figuring out how the critical work is actually getting done on the ground.
Which is often very different from the manual.
Exactly. And then, on the back end, you have the solution architect track. They take the raw intelligence gathered in discovery, and they design a digital solution using tools the document calls Genesis and the intelligence flywheel.
And we really need to define what those tools actually represent in a practical sense, because the terminology can sound pretty abstract.
Please do, because intelligence flywheel sounds like fantastic marketing copy, but I want to know what the software is actually doing.
Let's break it down. When the text mentions Genesis, we can infer this is EON's proprietary development environment. It is the canvas where the solution architect takes the messy, real-world workflow observed during discovery and maps it into a digital structure.
Making sense of the mess.
Exactly. And then the intelligence flywheel represents the momentum of machine learning. In enterprise software, a flywheel means a system that gets smarter the more you use it.
Okay, so data goes in, the model improves, which yields better outputs, which encourages the worker to use it more, feeding more data back into the loop.
Precisely. It builds on itself. If we return to your earlier special ops analogy for the discovery team mapping the terrain, the solution architects are the combat engineers building the bridge.
I love that.
But to add a functional layer to that metaphor, they are basically installing a highly advanced flight data recorder on the enterprise's best workers.
Oh, wow. Like a black box.
Yes, but a proactive one.
Okay, how so?
Well, a traditional black box just records data so you can figure out what went wrong after a crash, right?
Right.
EON's system is shadowing the expert, recording the thousands of micro-decisions and gut instincts they use to navigate daily turbulence, and feeding that into the flywheel.
That's incredible.
The goal isn't just to map the workflow. It's to build a live pilot program based on that mapped intelligence, prove it works, and convert it into a long-term engagement.
And the brilliant part of this fellowship structure is the guaranteed outcome.
Right, it's very clever.
Because EON explicitly states that regardless of whether a fellow secures that long-term contract, they leave meaningfully more capable. The absolute highest performers get hired directly by EON.
The 0.17% of the 0.17%.
Yeah, exactly. But the ones who don't, they are placed directly with EON's enterprise customers as certified work intelligence practitioners.
And the strategic value of that really cannot be overstated. EON is absorbing the absolute top talent for themselves and then systematically embedding the rest into the workforce of their target market.
It's like a Trojan horse, but a helpful one.
Basically, yeah. They are seeding these massive legacy industries with AI-native evangelists who are certified in EON's proprietary methodology. It builds a permanent pipeline of future business.
Which brings us to the core product these evangelists are actually pushing. The press release introduces the term work intelligence, and it positions it as the missing piece of the enterprise puzzle.
Yeah, and to understand the magnitude of what work intelligence is aiming to be, we have to look at the quadrant of systems that currently run the global economy.
Okay.
EON lays this out clearly. First, you have ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning. This is the system of record for your physical materials and financials.
tracking the pallets of steel and the balance sheets.
Exactly. Then you have CRM, customer relationship management.
So the system of record for the people buying your product.
Right. And then you have PLM, product lifecycle management, which is tracking the lifespan of the actual hardware you build.
Okay, so you've got stuff, customers, and products.
Yes. And EON claims the missing quadrant is a system of record for work.
For work itself.
Not what you are building or who you are selling it to, but the actual cognitive process of how your best people get the job done. They want to capture that fleeting human expertise and turn it into an owned, compounding asset.
So what does this all mean for the worker on the ground?
That's the big question.
Because my immediate reaction reading that, and I guarantee you're thinking this too as you listen, is just deep anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if I am a 30-year veteran at a utility company and some brilliant 22-year-old fellow shadows me for a month, records my gut instincts, digitizes my decision-making matrix, and turns my brain into a compounding asset owned by my boss. Aren't you just building my replacement?
It sounds like it, yeah.
You're asking me to train the machine that will ultimately fire me?
It is the most urgent pushback in the entire AI landscape right now, the fear of basically digitizing the executioner.
Yes.
But EON addresses this head-on, and they draw a very hard line between automation and augmentation. They explicitly frame their goal as multiplying top talent, not replacing them.
Okay, but I need to understand how multiplying actually looks on a computer screen. How does a company own a compounding asset without discarding the human who generated it?
Consider the physical limitations of an expert, right? A master engineer overseeing a sprawling power grid can only physically look at so many schematics a day.
Right.
They can only mentor 2 or 3 junior engineers effectively. Their immense value is just bottlenecked by time.
There's only 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. So what EON is doing with work intelligence is capturing the underlying logic of how that master engineer diagnoses a grid failure. When a junior engineer encounters a problem in the field, they aren't just looking up a static PDF manual.
They're querying this system.
Right, they are querying a dynamic AI model that's been trained on that specific master engineer's intuition.
So the junior engineer gets the benefit of 30 years of experience instantly.
And the master engineer's capacity is infinitely scaled. The AI handles the 1,000 routine inquiries, freeing the human expert to tackle the genuinely novel edge case problems that a machine has never even seen before.
That's fascinating.
The human isn't replaced. They are elevated from a localized problem solver to basically a network-wide architect of work.
It shifts the entire narrative. Instead of the AI being a robot taking your job, the AI is like a clone of your best professional attributes, amplifying your influence across the entire globe.
Exactly.
Which leads us to the ultimate grand vision of this press release. They call it the One System.
The One System.
Yeah, and it has 3 layers. Human 2.0 is the overarching vision, the intelligence flywheel is the engine, and work intelligence is the final asset.
Right.
Now, I read Human 2.0 and my brain immediately screams Silicon Valley vaporware.
Oh, totally.
Sounds like something a startup with 0 revenue prints on a t-shirt.
It really does. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the pedigree behind EON AI Ventures completely dispels that vaporware concern.
They actually have the backing for this.
They do. They have the deep infrastructure to validate this ambition.
Yes. The text reveals this is born from EON Reality, a company with 25 years of experience in immersive learning, a quarter of a century.
Massive.
They were tracking human movement in virtual reality long before anyone was even talking about the metaverse.
And that 25-year history is the key to this entire endeavor. For 2.5 decades, they have been meticulously studying how human beings learn complex, dangerous tasks in digital environments.
Wow.
They know how to capture physical action, like where a trainee looks, how their hands move, how they react to simulated pressure.
So they already have the foundation.
Exactly. What they're doing now is just upgrading their system of record. They are transitioning from capturing physical workflows in VR headsets to capturing cognitive workflows in AI models.
And the scale they are operating at is staggering. The document notes they currently support over 4,400 institutional customers across more than 80 countries.
80 countries.
80 countries. This isn't some beta test running out of a garage. This is a planetary scale deployment.
They already have the footprint.
They already have the enterprise relationships, the security protocols, and the deployment pipelines in place. They're simply pushing a revolutionary new asset through pipes they have spent 25 years building.
And it really contextualizes that 0.17% acceptance rate.
It does.
They can afford to be that brutally selective because the machinery waiting for those 7 hires is vast, proven, and already embedded in the industries they intend to transform.
It really is a massive shift in how we think about the value of a worker.
Yeah.
So let's just look back at the trail we followed today.
Yeah, let's recap.
We started with 4,000 applicants fighting for 7 spots, filtering out anyone who wanted a comfortable corporate ladder.
Right?
We followed those risk takers into the high-stakes world of heavy manufacturing and energy, where they pair up with veterans in this ultra-modern apprenticeship.
Yep.
We broke down the mechanics of how they extract value using discovery to map the terrain and the solution architect tools like Genesis and the intelligence flywheel to build the digital bridge.
Building the bridge.
And finally, we uncovered the ultimate goal-work intelligence, a system that captures the fleeting magic of human intuition, turns it into an owned, compounding asset, and paves the way for Human 2.0.
It is a profound evolution in knowledge management. But, as we transition toward this concept of Human 2.0, this raises an important question.
Okay.
The press release paints a picture of a flawless ecosystem, but there is a major structural unknown we have to consider.
Well, lay it on me.
If EON succeeds, and a company successfully captures its senior expert's intuition into an AI system, a system designed to perfectly mentor and guide every action of a junior employee, what actually happens to the concept of entry-level experience?
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
Because expertise is usually forged in the fires of making mistakes, right?
Yeah, trial and error.
Exactly. If you have an AI acting as the ultimate, flawless senior mentor guiding your every step, preventing you from ever making a critical error on that oil rig or in that utility plant, do new workers simply skip the beginner phase?
Right.
Or do we risk sterilizing the very environment of trial and error where human intuition organically grows in the first place?
That's deep.
If we automate the safety net so perfectly that no one ever falls, how does the next generation ever develop the original gut instinct needed to replace the master experts we just digitized?
That is a phenomenal paradox to end on. You build the perfect digital system to capture intuition, but the existence of that perfect system might prevent new human intuition from ever taking root.
Exactly.
If you never experience a workflow failing, how do you learn the underlying logic of how to fix it? That is definitely something to chew on as AI continues to enter the physical workspace.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep looking for the underlying logic, and most importantly, stay curious. We will leave you to think about that 0.17% acceptance rate and what it really means to bottle the human mind.